Welcome. This is the first video in a series of short videos about effective conversations in child protection. These are based on the principles of motivational interviewing and collaborative communication and apply to child protection scenarios. This is part of practice resource developed to support the implementation of effective child protection. In video 1, we illustrate how a social worker approaches difficult conversations. This video shows two contrasting styles used by a social worker when talking with two parents. It is a tense conversation. The father has a past history of violence and being aggressive during meetings with social workers. In response, social services have had to employ security guards to be present to manage any aggressive behaviour or threat to the worker's safety. The presence of security guards has angered the father previously. This pattern repeats itself in this interview. The nature of the child protection concerns means that this conversation has to take place. In the first example, you will notice how the worker uses their own power and control over the situation. The worker may be scared themselves. They go head-on with the father, matching his hostility by exercising their own power. In the second example, you will notice that the worker takes a different approach. In it, they acknowledge the difficulty for the parents and show empathy and respect towards the parents and their situation. Things are reframed positively. Try and notice how each conversation developed. What approaches were used and what were the outcomes achieved?
There's no way they're coming into this meeting. If they're coming in, I'm kicking off.
You're being very aggressive and unhelpful. We have to have security here because of your violent behaviour in the past. We have to make decisions about the protection of the unborn baby. There's no option here. The meeting will go ahead without you.
There's no way they're coming into this meeting. If they're coming in, I'm kicking off.
I can see that you're angry, and I know that you don't want security in the room. I know that you've both been through so much and you've been to so many meetings like this. I imagine that being here today brings back a lot of sad and bad memories and that you're worried about what will happen. You know that we talk about private and sensitive things, and I understand that you're worried about other people knowing your business. I need both of you in that meeting. I need you both to say how things are from your point of view. We need to work things out together. You're this baby's mum and dad. You have a right to be in the meeting. We need to hear from both of you. You've both come here today despite of how bad it makes you feel. That can't be easy. I know that you're here because you care about your baby. So, I will ask security to stay outside the meeting. Is that okay? I don't think you want to kick off in there. But I do understand that it's really hard to sit there and hear the reports and listen to what people are saying about you without getting angry and upset. So if that happens, it is okay for you to get up and leave the room. Go outside, have a break, but please come back to us. Are you okay with that?
So, what did you notice? This is a familiar scenario for child protection practitioners. They are charged with dealing with protecting children and have difficult conversations with those who are often the source of danger to the child. Practitioners have a sense of duty. The child's welfare is paramount. They have powers to investigate and protect. They have to do this, and avoiding the issue is not an option. And workers are as vulnerable to the normal responses to threat and violence. Despite their training and best preparation, these situations become challenging quickly. In the first video, the worker matched the father's hostility by asserting their own power. It did not diffuse the tension, but increased the level of hostility and resistance of the parents. In the second video, the social worker acknowledges the difficulties the family have experienced. In acknowledging their experience, the worker shows respect towards the parents. The worker provides an alternative way of managing the possibility the parents may become frustrated by allowing the parents to leave the meeting, but ask them to return. The worker reframes the situation and states that all parties have the best interests of the unborn child at heart. One of the main challenges in difficult conversations such as these is that they are emotive. Social workers and other child protection practitioners have duties to protect children, and this often brings them into conflict with their parents or carers. This involvement is usually not welcomed by families who often feel threatened by those actions. Despite their training, when in situations of hostility, it is natural for practitioners to feel scared themselves and under threat. The instinctive human response is to respond through fight or flight. The skills of reflective practice can be used to make practitioners better prepared for these situations and to capture in the moment of action the awareness to give you alternative options about how to respond. What do we know about what makes effective conversations? The best conversations are the ones where people feel really listened to, and being listened to and knowing the person has understood your position. These conversations help practitioners really understand what is important for families, but also families often start to make sense of their own situation as they can put time and thought into it. A good way to remember the core skills for having a good conversation with people is the word OARS. This stands for some of the key principles of effective conversations. Firstly, to use open-ended questions that open the conversation. Remember to affirm the person. Notice and acknowledge their strengths. This helps you counteract a focus on failure or limitations or risks. When you listen, make sure you listen reflectively. And during the conversation, summarize in an empowering way. The role of the child protection practitioner is to safeguard the child, and this always requires us to effectively engage with families. A controlling and critical approach by a practitioner may feel justified to the practitioner. It is seldom be effective in the long run. The principle behind OARS is that we prepare our mindset as a practitioner as we prepare for the start of a conversation. It counteracts the natural tendency to criticise families, which often results in their defensiveness. So, OARS is keeping your questions open-ended. Be affirming, listen reflectively, and summarise in a way that empowers families. Some of the key skills are to listen carefully, make sure you understand, show empathy, show you respect the person in that conversation, explore their concerns as well as their aspirations, acknowledge that there will be natural defensiveness. You need to make the other person capable and to take responsibility for their situation and choices, so support the person's sense of their own abilities during your conversation. Be aware that if you sense you are becoming part of an argument, or it is being confrontational, that you need to stop immediately and change tack. And finally, we've talked about the importance of reflective practice. This is often reflecting on situations that have taken place before. But reflective practice also has a role in your preparations for action, preparing for these difficult conversations. And reflective practice can develop in us a sense of awareness of what is happening to us, as we become better attuned to ourselves in situations such as these. You become more aware in the moment of action, what is actually happening to you. And if you have such awareness, you stop practicing instinctively and start to have other options on how you can respond. This becomes more important in the difficult conversations where there is potential for conflict. This video is part of the Practice Resources for Effective Child Protection, Other videos in this series are available to explore effective communication. These focus on areas such as discussing an allegation against a father, sharing a child protection report with a mother, amplifying change talk and agreeing with what needs to change, confirming the change statement and building steps to change. Additional handouts are also available for you to download in the practice resources section.